Yo, welcome to the channel. In this video today, we're going to be going over the Stamina Nightblade for the Flames of Ambition patch. A lot of things have changed this patch, but especially so with stamina characters. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into it and go over as we get to it. Max health is 20.8k, max stamina is 33.1, stamina recovery is 1.6, our weapon damage is 4.4 and buffed, our weapon critical is 65.6, and our physical penance is 7.4. Now I have 64 points into stamina. I am an orc, so I get more weapon damage on my sheet. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're looking at your stats and you're not an orc. But I think when it comes to number-wise, Khajiit is kind of number one, followed by Dark Elf and then Orc, but they're all within 1% of each other. So you really can't go wrong with either one of those three races if you're trying to min-max. So, now, the boon that I'm running is the Thief, and the food that I'm running is a Lava Foot Soup and Saltries. Now, if you don't have the champion points to get all the passives or all the skills in the red CP tree that gives you max health, then you may want to still use Dubious if you want to. If you have the CP points to get those, then by all means run Lava Foot Soup because they'll give you more recovery. So, let's go ahead and I'll go over champion points last because it is such a huge thing. The first 5-piece set that we're running is the Armor of Truth set. Now this is a heavy armor set that comes out of Dark Shades, but don't worry about it. It's very easy to get. You can, I'll explain here in a second. Now we're running an axe Nern with a poison damage enchant, a dagger sharpened with an absorb stamina enchant. Now this set it gives us weapon critical, max stam, weapon damage, and when you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your weapon damage is increased by 449 for 10 seconds. This pairs really well with our spammable, which is surprise attack, because when we attack him with a surprise attack from the flank, stuns the enemy for 3 seconds and sets him off balance. So, our spammable will proc this for us, giving us quite a bit of weapon damage. Now, this comes from Dark Shades, and it is a heavy armor set. But this Imperial Arm Cleaver drops from the final boss in Dark Shades 1, so you can get this. It's named, it comes sharpened. So really, you just need the dagger. I had got the dagger sharpened, so I just went ahead with that. Originally, I was trying out 2 axes. It's not too bad, but it's definitely not the extra crit that you get from the dagger is nice. So I had like a Nern axe and a precise axe, but the dagger was just better with sharpened, and it gave me more penetration, which was what I needed. Now, when it comes to jewelry, the Necklace of Truth, you're going to need one of those, a name drop. Dark Shades is very easy to go through, and you can get through it pretty easily to get one of these, or you can pick it up from a chest. Now, when it comes to traits, I have 1 Infused and 2 Bloodthirsty because they are heavy armor, they give you health. Now, this is Qualma Shepherd's Charm. It is a named ring that drops from Dark Shades 1 as well. It drops off of the first boss in the corner. So, that gives you another chance there. I have 2 of these. But, if you don't have the transmutation crystals to transmute these, there is a ring that drops from the very first boss in Dark Shades 2 called the Foreman's Ring. It's a little guy who he stands up, puts fire around him, fire goes around in a circle. He's the very first boss the moment you walk down and go to the right. He drops a Foreman's Ring, and that comes in Robust. It is a name drop, but it is robust. So if you don't have the transmutation crystals to fully transmute everything, at least you can farm him, get you 2 rings, and they will at least be robust. And then you'll just have 1 healthy. So, but it is really good to have when you can. Also in Dark Shades 2, if you don't really have the pin, you might want to run a mace. And there is a mace that comes from Dark Shades 2. It comes from the Hive Lord. It's called the Fist of the Hive Lord, if I'm not mistaken. But it is a mace, but it does drop in defending. So you'll have to transmute that into whatever trait you're needing it to be. But at least that way you'll have that mace. So a lot of these weapons do come dropped. The axe, the dagger you'll have to farm for, even the necklace. The rest of this stuff can be gotten in named items. So that would make farming them pretty easily. So, back bar, we're running Maelstrom Bow, infused with a weapon damage enchant. Maelstrom Bow, you get this from normal Maelstrom Arena, very easy, just get in there and get it. This will increase your DPS quite a bit off of Endless Hell. So, this increases the damage volley deals by 430 each tick. This bonus increases by 143 every time volley ticks, up to a maximum 8 times. This is very strong. It lasts, 10, 14 seconds, depending on what morph of endless cell or volley you're going with. But in the end, this will increase your DPS by a couple thousand, and it is really worth going in there and getting it when you can. Now, monster set, we're running 2-piece cracks. We're running 1 heavy divines with max stamina and 1 medium divines with max stamina. Now, if you wanted to, you could definitely run full 7 all medium. I just have a heavy one in divines, and that's kind of just I've just kind of left it. It doesn't bother me to have 1 heavy, 6 divines, but I think you would probably pull out more DPS if you had all 7 medium. So it's just up to you on what you want to do. And what this does is it gives us, the 1 piece gives us physical penetration. The 2 piece is when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to spawn drag limbs that create shockwaves in front of you, dealing 1.2k physical damage every 0.4 seconds for 1.2 seconds. The effect can occur once every 3 seconds. I really like it for the extra pin that we're getting here. So our pin, like I said, is setting around 7.7. We're really good on our pin. So if you want to, you could definitely replace this with something else like Celine's Veldrath or whatever. That's entirely up to you, because as long as you have about 5k pin, you should be good. But I've been running Crags on my Nightblade for a while now, and I've just kind of stuck with it. So now the second 5-piece set we're running is Leviathan. We're running all divines, all on the body. This is a set you want static at all times, and it comes from Crypto Hearts. Very early dungeon, easy to farm, easy to go in there and get. And what it does, it gives us max stamina, weapon crit, and adds more weapon crit. This is basically the Mother Sorrow set for stamina users. Now with the changes to crit in general, you really need a crit set, whether that's Dragon Guard, Leviathan, advancing Yokita if you can go into trials, Warband, whatever it may be. It really feels like now most stam characters, even magic characters, you've got to have a set that gives you some kind of crit. And Leviathan is just a really easy set to get. It's really easy to go in there and just farm Crypto Hearts. Even this comes from Dark Shades. So literally this comes from the first couple dungeons you can do before you're level 20. So these dungeons are not hard, even on Vet. Even the monster set, this comes from Fungal Grotto 1. Very easy to do dungeon to do on Vet. You could probably solo it on Vet, depending on where you're at. But a lot of people can solo these dungeons, even on Vet. So these dungeons are not hard at all. This entire setup is very easy to get and very quick to get. Well, I can't say very quick. Depends on your RNG. If you don't have very good RNG, you might not get the weapons you need and everything, and that can be a problem. I know with pants, I had to farm for quite a while just to get the pants, and I got daggers, axes, bows. I got a bunch of weapons before I even got the pants. So these were just... And then when I finally did get it, they were in training, so I just reconstructed them to get divines. So it just depends on your luck on RNG, depends on how long it will take you to get this set. But in general, these sets are very easy to get, and even then, you can get a Bow of Truth to put on your back bar if you don't have the Maelstrom Bow, so that way you don't lose the extra weapon damage when you bar swap from the 4-piece. So that is pretty much the sets. Skills, very easy. Surprise attack, slash an enemy dealing 9.1k physical damage and applying the Sundered status effect. Attacking with surprise attack from the flank stuns the enemy for 3 seconds and setting them off balance. This is how we proc Armor of Truth. That's it. Rending slashes, slice an enemy with both weapons to cause deep lacerations dealing 2.8k physical damage, with each weapon causing them to bleed for an additional 10k bleed damage over 10 seconds. You also reduce their movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. Relentless Focus. Focus your senses for 1 minute, increasing your critical damage and healing by 2%, with every light or heavy attack up to 5 times. While active, hitting an enemy with 5 light or heavy attacks converts its ability into Assassin's Scourge, allowing you to fire a Spectral Arrow for half cost that deals 17k disease damage and heals for 33% of the damage dealt if you're within melee range. We will always be within melee range, unless we got a backup to avoid some AoE attack, but you're pretty much just going to be right back in. So we will always get this heal. Honestly, DPS testing wise, I really feel like this bow freezes the character for a little bit. Like, it's just a couple seconds, but it's enough to throw off a rotation, at least for me. And what? So I don't know. There was one where I did a DPS test where I did not use the bow proc, and I'll show the two differences. It was a couple thousand, but I actually did better when I wasn't firing the bow than I was. So I guess maybe it's because it's freezing up on me or something. I can't really explain it, but there's just like a little stutter when I fire the bow. If that's happened to anybody else, let me know in the comment section, because I'm really curious if that's just kind of like a me thing. So, Killer's Blade, thrust the blade, I ain't gonna try that word, with lethal precision to stab an enemy, dealing 4.5k disease damage and deals 300% more damage to enemies below 25% health. Heals you for 4.3k if the enemy dies within 2 seconds of being struck. This portion of this ability scales off your max health. Now, this is our execute. We're going to start using this when the enemy hits 24%. Even in the rotation, we're going to start using this. We're pretty much, at first, we're going to keep Arrow Barrage up, Barb Trap, and then when the enemy hits about 10%, we're just going to start spamming this over and over. So, Camo Hunter, invoke your expertise and autonomy in enemies' behavior to detect stealth and invisible enemies. Well, you know what? I don't even know why I'm reading that. We don't use that part. What we have it here for is the second part. While slotted, you gain Major Savagery, increasing your weapon critical rating by 2.6. You also gain Minor Berserk for 5 seconds after you deal critical damage from an enemy's flank, increasing your damage done by 5%. Now, if you do not have Camo Hunter on your bar, or don't want to use it for whatever reason, and you don't trust your healers to give you Minor Berserk, you can always go down here to Wayrest Sewers and run Slime Crawl. Slime Crawl is going to give you some more critical instead of that pin from Krags. But you're also going to get Minor Berserk at all times, increasing your damage done by 5%. So, if you're not running Camo Hunter, you don't really need the pin. Replace Krags with Slime Crawl. It's just something to think about. Or you can stick with Stormfist. You can go with Selene's Web still, or even Veldrath. All them sets will work. Or you can just do one piece crit, which is like I think Grundlewolf and Slime Crawl is the monster sets that are going to give you one piece crit. So, Incapacitating Strike, ravage an enemy with a swift strike, dealing 14.6k disease damage and causing them to take 20% more damage from your attacks for 6 seconds. If cast with 120 or more ultimate, the enemy is stunned for 3 seconds. While slotted, you gain Reeve, which restores 100 magicka and stamina when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack on an enemy with a negative effect active on them. So this is just a nice way to sustain. Plus, this is the ultimate we're going to use more than anything. That's why we have it double barred. So, I try to time my ultimate here when I have a bow proc. You know, the Assassin Scourge proc, when I can fire that bow. So I'll hit them with the Incapacitating Strike, hit them with the Scourge, and then keep going. So, back bar, Poison Injection. Shoot an arrow coated in Bandara poison at an enemy, dealing 4.2k poison damage, and an additional 9.1k poison damage over 10 seconds. Deals up to 100% more damage to enemies under 50% health. This is just kind of, it lasts for 10 seconds, and we're using it. Now, if you're having trouble sustaining, another ability you might want to look at using is Soul Trap. You just morph this into whichever morph you want, whether it's the one for more AoE damage or the single target focused one. You can go with either one. They last for 10 seconds, and it won't screw up the rotation at all. It does take magicka though, so just bear that in mind. But that being the only ability that takes magicka on our bar, really shouldn't affect your rotation unless you're overcasting this before the 10 seconds is up, or right as it's ending. Then you might come into some trouble. But if you're letting it run out, or if you're doing the rotation, you won't have much of an issue keeping this up either. You can go with more AoE or more single target instead of Poison Injection. But Poison Injection deals more damage as it goes, so I just kind of run with this. Plus, it's been there for so long, it doesn't feel right to use anything else. Now, because of the fact this is 10 seconds, this lasts for 10 seconds. Everything's kind of on a 10-second rotation, so we're using Arrow Barrage instead of Endless L, because Endless L would be 14 seconds instead of 10 seconds. We launch a multitude of arrows into the sky to rain down, dealing 1.7k physical damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second for 8 seconds after a 2-second delay. Leeching Strikes imbued your weapon with soul-stealing power, causing your light and heavy attacks to heal you for 1.4k health and restore 106 stamina for 20 seconds. Fully charged heavy attacks restore twice the value. You restore up to 4.2k additional stamina when the effect ends based on the length of time the Leeching Strikes are active. If you're not having any trouble sustaining, and you're not really needing the heals for whatever reason, then you can always ditch Leeching Strikes. There are times that when I'm in a normal dungeon or something like that, I will replace Leeching Strikes with just Power Extraction. So that way I don't have to use weapon power pods or anything of the sort. I can just hit this one good time, and I get Major Brutality for 20 seconds. And usually that's enough time on a normal dungeon. I might have to hit it a second time depending on the boss, but for the most part, just once is enough to usually get me through a boss fight on normal. So I'll have that Major Brutality for a while. Plus it's good AoE damage. So, Barb Trap. Set a sharpened blade trap at your location, which takes 1.5 seconds armor and lasts for 1 minute. When triggered, the trap deals 4.2k physical damage and additional 16.5k physical damage over 18 seconds and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage by 10% for the duration. Enemies who activate the trap are immobilized for 2 seconds. Now, this lasts for 18 seconds, and it seems weird because, these are 10 seconds, so will you have to bar swap just to get back to it? No, because this takes pretty much 2 seconds to arm. So you'll set it on your second rotation as you come through with your abilities, and it should stay on that 10 seconds. So with the 2 seconds that it takes to arm and the 18 seconds that it lasts is pretty much a 20-second timer. So, it's going to be up for 18, but in general, you can do it on every second rotation and not have any problems. Camo Hunter Double Bard. Now, if the healer just is, I don't feel like I'm getting heals, I replace Camo Hunter on my back bar with Vigor when I need to. If I trust my healer, I'm not having any issues, then I just keep Camo Hunter on there. But if I feel like I need heals, or if I'm going to have to heal myself at some point in the dungeon, maybe we get separated or whatever, maybe it's just one of the fights where everybody spreads out, like Frostwald or something, then Vigor is good to have on your bar, and I just replace it with Camo Hunter. Incapacitating Strike, again, double barred. You do want to use it on your front bar for the most part, but as long as you can, use it on your front bar. Now, champion points. This is where things got weird. Now, as you can see, I have not put all my champion points into everything because I am kind of testing some things out. And this is one of the things that is worth having. So, I have Gilded Fingers and Fortune's Favor because I tend to run around a lot while I'm waiting on dungeons. I have 15 points here, and to reduce the cost of waste run usage by 10%, which is how many it takes to get to the next level, is 15. I have 10 points here, which will stop my weapon decay, which I would take this to 50 all the way, which I probably will end up doing. Now, I have Treasure Hunter on because I was just farming. I was getting Sky Shards and stuff. I always like to keep Treasure Hunter on my bar because it increases the quality of items I find in treasure chests. Through dungeons, through everything, I like having this up there in my 4 slot. Master Gather, reduce the time it takes to harvest by 10% per stage. And Plentiful Harvest, you have a 10% chance to gain double the yield from normal resources nodes per stage. I usually keep these 3 on my bar when it comes to the green tree, just because I tend to run around a lot and do this stuff. But if you're in trials, if you're not worried about this stuff right here, you're more worried about DPS wise, you're going to want this. Whenever you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. Maybe the food rationer here. Maybe increase the movement of your combat speed. I mean, there's a lot of things. Honestly, when it comes to this tree and DPS, really the only ones I would make sure I would have would be the Steadfast Enchantment and Liquid Efficiency. Those are the main ones I would make sure I had if I was more worried about DPS in this tree. But me, I tend to run around a lot and farm and stuff like that while I'm waiting on dungeons. Especially if I'm going into a tomb or something where I know there's backpacks and urns and stuff, I'll have the Home Maker. So that way, if I get a furnishing, I have a 10% chance to get more. So, but this tree is really just what do you want with it. When it comes to DPS wise, like I said, I think Liquid Efficiency and Steadfast Enchantments are probably the best 2. They're probably your main 2 in this tree. So, and you will Steadfast Enchantment, you don't have to equip to your bar, but Liquid Efficiency you do. So, Red Tree, you don't even have to do anything to get to these. Balanced Vitality, Ironclad, Rejuvenation. So those are all at the top. Now the only ones that you have to work with, you come to Tumbling here, go up to Mystic. I like putting 40 here into Hero's Vigor, and then Bloody Renewal, which will give me more stamina whenever I kill an enemy. It gives me 1500 back. I like to have this one on my bar as well. Now, there are more here. You increase your movement speed. Um, if you wanted to return to life as a resurrection, they come back with, after you're resurrected, you come back with 25% more resources. Um, if you roll dodge a lot, you can go with that one. Reduce the cost to break free. Um, reduce the cost to block. Increase the amount of damage you can block. There's a lot you can do, but this is just kind of what I've been running with. I haven't had any issues staying alive in normal content or vet dungeons and things like that. I haven't really necessarily done a trial since this last patch. So, the hardest thing I've done since is the new dungeons on vet hard mode, and they're a pain. But not really any issues. That's just kind of what I'm going with in the red tree. How well this is, I don't know. But I have Bloody Renewal, Rejuvenation, Ironclad, Balanced Vitality, and then Hero's Vigor is something I would definitely say have as well. So, blue tree, which is where damage is. Start off here, Precision. You want to put 40 points here if you can. Tireless Discipline, this is going to give us more stamina. Extended Might, Piercing, you're going to want it all the way up to 40. Battle Master, increase your chance to apply martial status effect by 30% per stage. And grants 100 weapon and spell damage to martial attacks, affects physical, poison, disease, and bleed damage. So 40, 40, 30. And then after you kind of go there, you can go here for your Tireless Discipline. I've tried out a few things. This is just what kind of Backstabber, Fighting Finesse, Deadly Aim, and Thermometer. Thermometer increases the damage done with damage over time effects by 2% per stage, so it's an extra 10%. This is going to increase their damage done with single target attacks by 2% per stage, so it's an extra 10 for having it all the way up. Now, this effects are spammable, surprise attack. This effects are executed in the end. It does a lot. So I usually keep these two on my bar at all times. Now, I usually keep Fighting Finesse too because it gives me an extra 10% critical damage and critical healing done. Now, depending on how my tank is, if I have a tank that has happy feet, that loves to just run in circles or run around, so I'm not always able to be behind them, then I switch out Backstabber for Untamed Aggression, just to give me more weapon damage so my abilities hit harder. Because Backstabber, you've got to be on the flank. You've got to be attacking them from behind in order to really get that extra 15% crit. So if you've got a tank that just keeps turning that mob around, or you don't have a tank, so the mob is bouncing from person to person, you may not always be able to be behind it, and if that's the case, go with Untamed Aggression. That's just kind of what I go with. It works for me. If you want to, you can do Biting Aura, increase your damage done with area effects. That would increase the damage of Endless Hell. That's it. I believe that only affects Endless Hell on your bar. So that's the reason why I go with Untamed Aggression. If you're running more AoE abilities, then go with Biting Aura. Like maybe you have that Caltrops or the Soul Trap, where it's splitting Soul Trap, where it does AoE damage. You might want to go with one of them. But I don't really like Biting Aura on the Stand Blade, so I'll go with Untamed Aggression. Or if you feel like you need heals, you can go with Riveting Blows. When you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of the damage done. That isn't bad either. So, you can also Wrathful Strikes. So, but this is just kind of what I found I like the best. That's kind of what I'm going with. So, when it comes to this tree, me personally, I would try to get my stuff up. I would go with Deadly Aim, Thermometer first, and then work into your crit damage as you level up, as you get more CP points. So, but honestly, I really don't know which one's more important. So, but I would definitely try to get your crit chance up and work on the passives here as well. I like offensive penetration, and your crit chance would definitely be some of the first ones I would work on. After that, I would just try to put the lowest I can in each one of these bars and just kind of get them on my bar. To be honest with you, that's just kind of how I would do it. I really don't know. Or I would focus on one thing before I went to the others. But you can really do this however you want. But that's kind of how the tree works. You're going to go from here to here to here for that. And then after you do this, you can literally hit any of these And after you put a few in here, from there and there, you can pretty much go into this side of the tree. This one, like these ones way off here, out here nowhere, like you see, you really don't need them to be connected to anything in order to increase them. So they're just kind of there. So that is the champion points. DPS wise, when I didn't fire the bow, I got 33.2, and when I did fire the bow, I got 31.7. It was just that little couple second delay. It kind of put me off a little bit, but not firing the bow also gives you benefits as well, because it increases your crit damage and healing by 2% with every light or heavy attack up to 5 times. So at 5 full stacks, that's an extra 10% crit damage. So it's up to you on how you want to run it. All DPS kind of took a drop this patch. So, but when it comes to setting up for the rotation or the boss, you're going to buff up. Barb Trap, Endless Hell, Light Attack, Poison Injection, Light Attack, Rending Slashes, Light Attack, Surprise Attack. That's just kind of how I was doing it. When I was firing the bow, there was kind of the delay. So it's the same thing. So, second rotation, you would just hit that. So, let me just show full rotation. Bar Trap, Endless Hell, Poison Injection, Surprise Attack, Surprise Attack, Surprise Attack, Endless Hell. Now, when you first get it going, when you come back over, when I first rotate over, before I hit Rending Slashes again, Light Attack, I will use the ultimate, Rending Slashes, fire off the bow, and then go back into surprise attacks. As you can see, off balance has been set, so our weapon damage has went up. So again, this is without any major brutality or anything like that. You're going to want to use weapon power pots for this. Unfortunately, I just kind of ran out. So I'm using these Gold Coast Warrior elixirs. They're kind of the same, but you really want weapon power pots if you can get them. But yeah, that's just kind of what I'm doing right now. Hopefully, as I learn more and more about this stuff, I'll sound more confident, I should say. So, anyways, let me know what y'all are thinking of this patch. Let me know if what's going on with some of your characters. I have been told by a lot of people that they're kind of been put off of playing due to the DPS loss and stuff like that. Because some of the people who were CP 400 now feel like they're back before they even hit CP 160. So let me know how this new CP system is affecting you and whether or not you're wanting to play or not. And until next time, take care and have fun, guys.